Welcome to Ease Podcast, where minds ignite, exploring learning day and night. Educators thrive, young minds grow, in science, tech, and art skills flow. Natural pride to make us survive. Ease opening minds, the future shine. Welcome to Ease Podcast, where minds ignite, exploring learning day and night. Educators thrive, young minds grow, in science, tech, and art skills flow. From classroom pride to make us survive.
This podcast is produced by EASE, the European network of STEAM educators, uniting STEAM educators from Europe and all over the world. This product may contain traces of artificial intelligence inside. Join us and find a handful of educational resources at easeeducators.com.
Hey everyone, ready to dive into a deep dive with us? Today's topic is Fibonacci. I know what you're thinking. More math. But hold on, this is Fibonacci, and it connects to way more than just numbers. We're going to see how the Fibonacci can be a real tool for getting your STEAM students engaged. And we've got some really cool sources for this deep dive. So one of them actually mentions that Noah's Ark, the one from the Bible, it says that the ark's dimensions, like the ratio of its breadth to height, they're super close to the Golden Ratio, you know, the one tied to the Fibonacci sequence. I mean, seriously, ancient secrets in math. Is this a common thing in old buildings?
Oh, yeah, for sure. The Golden Ratio is all over the place in historical architecture. It's kind of wild how often it pops up. Like, check out the Castel del Monte in Italy, this octagonal fortress. Really striking. Or the Rumbach Synagogue in Hungary. These architects, they knew what they were doing. They used the Golden Ratio on purpose. Sometimes it's in the actual shapes of the building. Sometimes it's how they place different elements. But it's all about creating visual harmony, you know, making things look balanced and pleasing.
Okay, that's really cool. Because it's not just some abstract math idea then. It's connecting math with art and history and architecture all at the same time. That's STEAM right there. But can we break down the ratio itself for a second? How's that connected to the Fibonacci sequence?
All right, so the Fibonacci sequence, it's this pattern where each number is just the sum of the two before it. You start with 1 and 1, then you get 2, 3, 5, 8, and so on. And get this, as you keep going down the sequence, the ratio between any two consecutive numbers, it gets closer and closer to the Golden Ratio, which is roughly 1.618.
Wait, so you mean those ancient builders were probably using this sequence to figure out the proportions for their buildings? That's amazing. Speaking of proportions, our sources also mentioned Fibonacci in nature. Is that a real thing?
Totally real. No leg pulling here. The Fibonacci sequence and that Golden Ratio, they're everywhere you look in nature. The way leaves are arranged on a stem, the spirals on seashells, even the way trees branch out. It's like nature itself is following some kind of mathematical blueprint.
You're blowing my mind here. I'm thinking as a STEAM educator. How do we bring this sense of wonder into the classroom? Because that's got to be the key, right? Yep. To getting kids excited about math and science and all of that.
I think you're spot on. Bringing those real-world examples into the classroom, that's what helps students make those connections. It's not just STEM, it's STEAM, it's all connected, you know? And when kids see that math is in the trees and the seashells, that sparks a different kind of curiosity.
Yeah, it's not just abstract anymore. It's real.
Exactly.
So it's not just telling them about it, but they can see it in action.
Hands-on, you know?
Makes it click.
Yeah, for sure.
Thinking back to when I was in school, I mean, if I had learned about Fibonacci like this, I probably wouldn't have hated math class so much. Oh, one of the sources mentioned something about the Golden Ratio in calendars. That caught my eye.
Yes. That brings us to the lunisolar calendars, specifically the Jewish calendar. It uses this thing called Meton's formula. It's all about keeping the lunar cycles and the solar year in sync. And what's really cool is that the ratio of years to lunations in this cycle, it's super close to the Golden Ratio, just divided by 10.
Wait a minute. You're telling me there's a link between the Golden Ratio and how we track time? That's mind-blowing. It's so abstract.
So it's everywhere. And for educators, it's a goldmine.
You know what I'm saying?
Imagine your students exploring different calendar systems, getting into the history and math behind them, maybe even trying to make their own calendars based on math principles.
Oh, wow. That's a project I'd want to do.
Talk about cross-curricular learning.
Yeah, seriously. This whole thing about cycles and patterns, it makes me think about, like, the arrangement of planets in our solar system. Did the sources say anything about Fibonacci in space?
That's a question that causes a lot of debate.
Oh.
Yeah, some researchers have found some interesting things. Relationships between the distances of planets from the sun and the Fibonacci sequence. But it's important to say, a lot of this is based on approximations and interpretations, stuff that's not really universally accepted in the scientific community.
It's more of a puzzle than a solved equation then.
Exactly.
But that's a great opportunity for teaching, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Get the students thinking about how science works.
Yeah, you can have discussions about scientific inquiry, evidence-based reasoning, the difference between finding a correlation and proving causation.
Right. So it's not just about taking things at face value.
It's about teaching them to think critically.
That's a lesson that goes way beyond any single subject.
For sure.
So we've covered a lot of ground here. History, nature, calendars, even space. It's clear that Fibonacci is way more than just some math concept. It's like a key to understanding patterns all around us. But for our STEAM educators listening, busy as they are, what are the key takeaways? What can they actually use in their classrooms?
I mean, the great thing about Fibonacci is that you can work it into so many different STEAM activities.
Like what kind of stuff?
Well, you could have students look at the Golden Ratio in art and architecture, or go outside and explore how it shows up in nature. They could even do photography or art projects based on the spiral patterns you see in sunflowers or seashells.
Yeah, now you're talking. That's the kind of stuff that really gets kids engaged, makes them see math in a whole new way.
It's not just numbers on a page anymore.
Right. It's like a living concept.
Exactly. And with technology like GeoGebra, students can take it even further. They can create their own Fibonacci spirals, analyze the proportions in famous buildings or artwork. They can even design their own structures using those principles.
So hands-on and interactive.
Yeah.
It's great that you're bringing it back to the classroom.
Yeah.
Giving our listeners real ways to use these ideas. I think that's what they're looking for.
Practical applications.
Yeah, and who knows, maybe it'll even spark their own passion for learning again.
Absolutely. One thing I always say to educators is, don't be afraid to learn alongside your students. Embrace that wonder, ask questions, explore together.
Yeah,
When you show that you're curious, it rubs off on them.
I totally agree. This deep dive has been a great reminder that learning should be an adventure, full of surprises, those aha moments, and Fibonacci. Who knew it would unlock so much?
It's been a pleasure exploring this with you. Now go out there and share that excitement with your students. Show them that math is so much more than just formulas. It's a language that speaks to us through art and nature, even the way we track time.
And to all our amazing STEAM educators out there, we challenge you to take a closer look at your own surroundings. You might be surprised where you find the golden ratio. It could be hiding right in front of you. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning.
Welcome to East Podcast, where minds ignite. Exploring, learning, day and night. Educators thrive, young minds grow. In science, tech, and art skills flow. Natural right to make us survive. Ease opening minds to future strive. Welcome to East Podcast, where minds ignite. Exploring, learning, day and night. Educators thrive, young minds grow. In science, tech, and art skills flow. From classroom right to make us survive. Ease opening minds to future strive. You're making
This podcast is produced by EASE, the European network of STEAM educators, uniting STEAM educators from Europe and all over the world. This product may contain traces of artificial intelligence inside. Join us and find a handful of educational resources at easeeducators.com.